Hello and welcome to The Cat Who Project, a podcast where we take a deep dive into Lillian Jackson Braun's world of Qwill and Coco. In this week's episode, we are taking a look at Qwilleran as a journalist in Book 2, The Cat Who Ate Danish Modern. In the first book, we discover that his recent career path had been a little shady. This passage from Chapter 1. Everyone knew he had had a notable career as a crime reporter in New York and Chicago. After that, he had disappeared for a few years and was now holding down a quiet desk on a Midwestern newspaper. So he's been on the art beat at the Daily Fluxion for 7 months and is due to attend a meeting at the Flux with all the managing directors. Qwill is certain that Percy is about to promote him onto a more suitable beat for a man of his age and experience because he was promised a desk in the city room as soon as an opening came up. When he walks into the building, people start congratulating him. They say, "You lucky dog," and "I just heard the news, congratulations. Could this be the day?" In the meeting, Percy tells the team that their city has been chosen for an experiment to see if national advertising, ordinarily carried out in magazines, could be diverted to a daily paper in cities. If it works, their lineage could double revenue, upward of $1 million a year. Percy tells Qwill that it will be his job to produce a special Sunday supplement every week in magazine format, with plenty of colour. Qwill's mind raced ahead to all the possibilities. He pictured great court trials, election campaigns, political exposés, sports spectaculars, perhaps even overseas coverage. But then Percy bursts his bubble. Percy wants Qwilleran to publish a weekly magazine on interior design. On what? Qwilleran said in an unintended falsetto. Interior decorating. Qwilleran felt a chill at the roots of his moustache. "I should think you would want a woman to handle it," he said. The managing editor of the women's department, Fran Unger, agrees, saying that the women's department wanted the assignment very badly. But Percy feels that a great many men were interested in the home today. Percy sweetens the deal for Qwilleran, telling him that he will be promoted from senior writer to junior editor, and that his responsibilities and pay rate will match his elevation in title. Percy also cleverly ignites Qwilleran's competitive nature when he says they need to beat rival newspaper, the Morning Rampage, by releasing their magazine first. And when Fran Unger gives Qwilleran a chummy smile and says, "You'll have fun with this assignment, Qwill," he feels like saying, "Sister, just keep your hands off my magazine." So Qwill gets started by establishing some contacts on his new beat, and he does this by visiting a couple of decorator houses. The first decorator house he visits belongs to Starkweather and Like. That morning he put on his new tie and the better of his 2 suits. And when he walks into the studio and finds one wall covered in a red plaid wallpaper that matched his tie, he's quite pleased. David Like ends up being a very useful contact. He sets up the Tate residence for Qwill to feature in the first edition of their magazine, named Gracious Abodes, and he also invites Qwill to his very popular parties at his apartment. Qwill attends these parties and is introduced to the interior decorating crowd. So through David Like, Qwill really finds his feet in his new beat. He creates contacts, and he even manages to secure a new place to live through an introduction to Harry Norton. Like in Book 1, we get to see the Qwilleran method in action. And if you don't know what the Qwilleran method is, it is described in Book 1 as 2 parts sympathy, 2 parts professional curiosity, and 1 part low blood pressure. In Book 2, there's a reference to the Qwilleran method when he's interviewing Jack Baker, a former friend and competitor of David Like. Baker is opening up about his connection with David Like, and at a very opportune moment, Qwilleran puffed on his pipe and looked sympathetic. And it worked, of course, as Baker went on to give Qwilleran a lot of useful information. But funnily enough, Qwilleran finds his technique did not work whilst interviewing Starkweather. With every question, the dull Mr. Starkweather would give wishy-washy answers, and I think both Qwill and Starkweather were relieved when the very charismatic David Light stepped in to complete the interview. In Chapter 4, the detectives briefly interrogate Qwilleran and Bunsen about the theft of the jade from the Tate residence. They were there the day before the theft. The interrogation rattles Bunsen, and on the way home he says that for a minute there he thought they were suspects. Qwilleran responds by saying, "Our profession is above suspicion. You never hear of a newsman turning to crime. Doctors bludgeon their wives, lawyers shoot their partners, and bankers abscond with their assets. But journalists just go to the press club and drown their criminal inclinations." Back at the newsroom, things don't always go so smoothly for Qwill. In Chapter 4, Qwilleran sits moodily at his desk and stares at the typewriter and should be working, but of course he's considering the jade theft. And towards the end of the book, he's pleading with Percy, the managing director, to let him continue to investigate, saying he's sure there's going to be a surprise development. Percy says there's been nothing but surprising developments for the last 15 days. He says that he's not blaming Qwill for the succession of mishaps per se, but it does seem that the magazine has been accident-prone. Percy suggests that Qwill should wrap up the next issue and hand the reins over to Fran Unger, and maybe Qwill could handle the church news. But of course, Qwilleran did continue to investigate, and with some help from Coco, he managed to solve all the mysteries. And the following Monday, Qwill reported on Harry Norton's new business interest, calorie-free beer with added vitamin C. There was, however, a typographical error. When talking about Harry's diverse business interests, the printed version talked about Harry's devious business interests. But apparently this mistake was so customary that the item would have been disappointing without it. Well, that's it for this week's episode of The Cat Who Project. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Rohan, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for listening. Bye now.